wave. Who's been to the beach? Ocean. Yeah? Have you? Yes? No? Have you? Why don't you raise your hand, man? Have you been to the beach? The ocean? Yeah? Sure, thank you. Right? Have you seen the waves? Waves. Then down. Then down. Up and down. Up and down. Yeah? So if can I use your helmet for a second, please? Yeah. Pretend this is where your plan is, right? So if I move this helmet, what happens? It goes down, then up, then down, then up. As it keeps rolling, right? Keeps going that way. What does that mean? That means you're going to deliver your project in small little chunks. So if I say, I want a bottle. I want you to manufacture a bottle in this project, yeah? So you've given me the bottle, yeah? You've given me the bottle just as it is, without any design, without any sticker, not even without a cap, but I have a bottle. So I use the bottle every day, yeah? The only thing I can't do is I cannot place this bottle here and go home, come back tomorrow. It's going to be full of dust, dirt, fall, spill, whatever, right? But I can use it. Then the next thing I say, you know what? The next thing I want really quickly is this cap. I don't want the lines. I don't want the sticker. I want the cap. So you manufacture the cap, right? So the way I use this and my experience of using this increases my understanding of what I require, of my requirements, right? Based on that, I have the next little piece. What kind of a cap should it be, right? What color should it be, etc., whatever, right? Now then I'll say, now I got my bottle, I got my cap. Now I want these lines here, for whatever reason, X reason, right? Or I'll say, no, I don't want these lines at all, just let it be as it is. I would just want a sticker telling me what the make is. Get it? You understand? Did you understand? Did you understand? Did you understand? Did you understand? You sure? Got it? Okay. That's what this is saying, okay? You do it in chunks, in small little chunks. As the ball rolls, when this comes up, your project performs. When this comes down, there's no performance there. There's now requirements gathering. There's planning for your next little chunk you're going to deliver. Then this goes up, solid execution, control, etc. Then this goes down, you're absorbing what you've done, you're using what you've done with the experience, you're giving me another iteration, another chunk to deliver. Make sense? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Make sense? Let's talk about this really quickly. If you talk about a predictive project, means you know what the end result's going to be. You know that the bottle is going to look exactly like this, right? You know exactly all these designs, everything. You know that, right? So you're working on the full project, right? But in this case, that's not the case. You're going piece by piece. So all of a sudden, after you made the bottle this big, you haven't made the cap yet. I want a small little change. I want the mouth of the bottle to be slightly bigger. You can make that change really quickly. But if you would finish the whole project, now you go back and revamp, imagine the cost and stuff. You can make changes quicker with lesser expenses when you do it in a reiterative cycle. Make sense? Get it? Get it? Get it? Okay. Now, if you have questions, please stop me. Okay?
I have an example. I just want to
Sure.
know where it stands.
Sure.
Like in a car, for example, the user interface, which was previously there, it had probably an FM radio and some kind of a cassette player. And it moved on to CD. And now it's all touch screens and everything, along with the Bluetooth and so many other features. Now, where does it stand? Is it different themes, like the previous slide which you said?
Previous slide?
Increasing, so deliver incremental value to the customer.
Sorry, say again?
It says it is used to deliver incremental value to the customer, or when multiple teams can concurrently develop a large number of features
Yes.
that have few interconnected devices.
Yeah.
Does this example fall into this?
Okay.
Even though each of it is independent.
Sure. That's fine. Let's talk about a car, right? So when a car comes out, let's say Toyota has designed and planned to release the latest model of, I don't know, a Camry. Let's say Jaguar, right? They want to come back with the XJX V12. Beautiful car, right? Just absolute beauty. Let's say they want to bring it back, right? Now, they designed the whole car, end to end. But the iterative life cycle inside, what it does, it, let's say, designs the chassis, right? And then they fix the wheels on it. I don't know the exact process, the sequential order, but let's say they put the wheels on it with the axles or the butterfly suspension, or whatever they put on there, right? They put that there. And then they realize that the chassis needs a little bit of adjustment as far as its thickness is concerned, right? Now they can change it a lot easier, right? Get it? But when the car comes out on the road as a complete car, in this case, the end user, as far as the project is concerned, is the customer is the next team or the design team that's going to look at that, right? It's not you and me who's buying the Jag. Get it? When the Jag comes out, you've got its features. So now Jag goes back and looks at its customer feedback. And now Jag says that, oh, my customers liked the touch screen, but they wanted something else. They wanted a voice response, right? Voice command system. So you say, Jag, take me home. So Jag knows where your home is. So it's a map comes on, right? That's what you wanted. So the next model comes out with that. Get it? But don't mix up a product that's delivered to you, completed, finished. This is not iterative. The product is finished. But to make this product, right, that is iterative. Do you understand? Did you all understand? Yeah, get it? For sure? Did you understand? Yes or no, man? Yeah, did you understand? Did you understand? For sure? For sure. Yeah, you understand?
It means upgrading the version.
Absolutely, absolutely, right? And that will be a totally different project, right? Whatever, however, right? So SGX V12, SGX V12 1, for example, right? XGS V12 2, right? Has other features. I don't know, whatever features, whatever are fun ones, right? Get it? So that's what it is, right? But that's not called iteration. That's not iterative. Get it? That's a finished product coming out to you, an upgrade to that, an update of a version kind of thing. Do you understand? The two different. Do you understand? Everybody? Yeah? Got it? Okay. On demand. What's this Kanban? What a funny name, Kanban. This was a fantastic concept, ideology, cooked up by the Japanese, in, I believe, the 1940s. Toyota came with this. And apparently in the Japanese language, Kanban means billboard. So what these guys did on the billboard, they had cards and columns. So the columns represented the progress, and the cards represented the activity or task. So now they knew which task is where, which stage of the life cycle. That's a simple concept. Now, let's go on to the next one. Any questions here? Shall I move on? It pulls the work from backlog. If I explain it to you in layman's terms, everyday common street language, what that means, you got the Jag, right? You got the Jag. You got 4 doors, you got a stick shift or an automatic, whatever. I still do this in India. We do this, right? On this side. I still do this on that side. Because steering is on the left side. We're steering is on the right side, right? You got to keep aware of these things. Which market is that product going to go to? What's that culture, the environment, regulatory requirements, etc., etc. Anyway, so let's say they give you that, and now Jag has built its shell, right? The XGS V12 is built. The shell is built. Now there were certain other requirements. They talk about user stories, right? And user stories. Let me tell you a little bit about this, okay? User stories is a way of gathering user requirements, okay? So literally, we tell stories. Literally, we sit in a room and we tell stories. It's like, not that kind of story. Stories is, yesterday, I had a problem. My Jag performed this really well, but I was missing this. I was hoping that my Jag would give me this feature. Oh, so what happened? I'm going to write that story down. That story is your requirement, right? And then I'll drill you in deeper to get that actual requirement, the details, right? So each story. So you might have 100 stories for the Jag, but I've built only 10 stories. There are 90 remaining, right? Now that I've done the major, important story part or requirement part, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the backlog and I'm going to say which is next in line. Easiest for me to pull. I'm going to pull it out and do it. Pull it out and do it. Pull it out and do it. You understand? Layman's terms. So don't get into this fancy language kind of thing. Of course, they need to talk about it that way, but simplistically speaking, that's all it is. You understand? Did you all understand? Yeah? Get it? Sure?
Yes.
Okay. Move on? Should I move? Oh, what we said? Agile, then commence, right? You have a question? No? Okay. So that on-demand schedule, right? The first iteration is done, next one, schedule now. Second iteration done, schedule again for the third one. Third one's done, schedule again for the fourth one. As and when each iteration is delivered, at that time they plan, they schedule, and they move. Get it? Pull or on demand. Make sense? Make sense, everybody? Understand? Same page? Okay. What's this? Okay, the life cycle approach. I have a cheat sheet here, you know. What's a product life cycle? Yeah. Who knows?
The durability of the product.
Sorry?
The durability of the product. The lifespan.
The life cycle. See, here, there's a little bit of a, what should I say? A little bit of a debate, a little bit of an opinion, difference of opinion over here. What are the four life cycles, four stages of life cycle, product life cycle? What do they say? Come on. Initiating.
Growth.
To start. Okay, we'll call it start. Don't worry, start. Good.
Planning.
What else?
Monitoring.
Huh? Planning. And then? Executing. And then executing, monitoring, controlling. Yeah. And then? Close. Sorry, what did you say? Closing. Yeah. Basically, some people break down controlling and monitoring separate. That's fine. It's not illegal. Break it down. Yeah. That's basically the life cycle. So, what kind of a life cycle? And again here, when we talk about life cycle, especially this day and age, with all the fraudulent activities and possibilities that are out there, we need to ensure that projects are foolproof. You know, fraudulent typed. No frauds should get in there, at least as much as possible, right? So, a life cycle out of these stages, mature project-oriented organizations have what's called a stage gate entry exit. As you get into this next life cycle, they actually have to officially sign off by the PMO saying that you have met all of the requirements of this stage. Now you can safely exit out of there and they put a rubber stamp on it. Only then can you exit and enter into the next life cycle. And then they have all of their finishing, right? It's done. Planning is done. When planning is done, they go through the entire schwack of all you've done. And they authenticate it. They look at it. They question you. They challenge. Oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Go and do it. I won't let you get into the next phase until you finish this. Get it? So stage gate, entry, exit kind of thing, right? So based on what kind of a life cycle, whether you got 3, whether you got 2, whether you got 4, whether you got 5, whatever. You know, smaller projects, like I said, my project was 5 minutes. Everything. Planning, initiating, planning, controlling, executing, closing was done in 5 days. I'm not going to do all this. Get it, right? So based on what kind of a size and complexity your project is, that's how you would schedule, right? Make sense? You understand? The depth of details in your WBS and stuff like that, right? All right. What else? Make sense? Influencing duration, availability resources, production. Make sense? What are the resources you have? For example, if you have a programmer, or a designer or whatever, are they available for how long? And how much work can they do within that stipulated period of time? Make sense? Okay? Are we critical? We crossed our. We're very critical right now. Okay. Okay. Yeah, make sense? Going value management, we'll talk about it in a little bit. Complexity. So, how will technology, novelty, etc., but how will those affect the project? Scheduling should take that into consideration. Support. Make sense? Yeah? Basically, how are you going to store it? How are you going to modify it? How are you going to convey it? Make sense? Now move. The project manager is a project manager regardless, whether it's predictive or adaptive. Adaptive means iterative. Predictive means, you do the whole project, plan it out, and start working on it at once, right? The project manager's role does not change. Project manager is exactly what he is, he or she is, right? Now move. Okay. And we're going to discuss these things. Okay. Oops, sorry, was that? Okay. All right. So we're going to define the activities that make up the plan, the schedule. Make sense? Okay?
Decomposition also.
You want to know what decomposition is, right? Okay. Decomposition, really quickly speaking, is the process of breaking down, breaking down an end result into activities that will accomplish that end result, right? In that small little framework, you'll take a certain portion of it, and you'll say, we break it down into these many portions. If we do this, this, and this, we'll get this. Very simple sequence. Okay? Make sense? Can I move? Try? Okay. Or you guys running grossly over time. Done. Okay, here we go. WBS, you know what WBS is? The lowest level? Now, it could be an activity or a task. There's a difference of opinion. Some people say an activity consists of tasks. Some people say tasks consist of activities. In fact, Himbach, version 3, initially, if I remember correctly, it said activities consist of tasks. And then, I think in version 5, they said tasks consist of activities. And right now, they're, call it what you want. What should a project manager do? What should a project manager do? Activity or task? As far as, when you do, of course, the work package. But if you say an activity or a task, what should a project manager do? What should you call an activity? What should you call a task? Really, quickly. What's an activity? What's a task? Does it matter? Go with the culture. Your corporate culture. Your boss says, this is an activity, it has tasks. Yes, sir. It's an activity that has 10 tasks under it. No, it's a task that has 10 activities. Yes, sir. Who cares? Just go with it. See, it's nothing legal or illegal. As long as you're not unethical, makes sense. Okay. Progressive elaboration planning. Understand? You know your end result, you know your finished final product, but you're not going to plan for that. You have a big high-level plan, a big high-level estimate, and all this kind of fun. Yeah, good. But you don't have a detailed plan for the whole thing. You have a detailed plan for only that part you're going to deliver now. You're going to work on. That's it, right? And the progressive elaboration planning, right? As you go along, and that big picture may deviate a lot, because now deviation doesn't throw the project off. Because, you're not spending that much money, time, effort, resources. You're just spending in small chunks. So you can change very easily without going through a bigger loss. Make sense? Yeah? Move. There we go. Decomposition. This bottle. Yeah? Want to manufacture this bottle. What do? So, the big task, manufacture the bottle. Yeah. Let's break it down. What? We're going to go ahead and make sure we manufacture the body part. Yeah? Then in that, there's another task. You're going to put in these fancy lines here. Then there's another one, you're going to put on, flat part for the label. Then there's another one, the bottle, the neck is going to be slightly narrow, and it's going to have threads. How many threads? Then the cap has to be, manufactured. So, potentially, the manufacture of a bottle has been decomposed into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 manageable tasks. Make sense? Very simplistic speaking. Now, this may not be factual real, it's just an example. Make sense? Understand? Question? Can I move? Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is a scary one. No, it's not. Yeah.
This is the last slide.
Sorry?
The biggest slide.
Oh, sorry.
Trying to focus on the word need. Extend
This
the-
one?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Let's go back to this bottle example. Yeah. Let's say building this bottle is just one whole big chunk. You are manufacturing this, for example. You're responsible for designing this, right? I say, Mr. Said, please design this. You're done. You design it, and I need to control your time, your effort, your resources, your money I'm paying. That's it. But all of a sudden, you're not the whole and soul. All you're going to do is just put in these lines. He's going to design and manufacture the cap. He's going to, design the label and stick it on. She's going to design the, the lock, the seal, right? So now, and that's important for me, because this has its own specific requirements. This has its own. This has its own. All of a sudden, I need to control all of these people, right? Make sense? But if the cap, he's designing it, he's manufacturing, whatever he's doing, he's responsible for some activity in this, right, to get this cap. Now, all I have is him, his time, and the money I'm paying him. I just need to control this. As long as this is done, the bottle is complete, right? But if there's something else involved in this, which he's and somebody else is responsible for, now I need to control that other person too, right? Make sense? So I'm not going to just split up tasks for the sake of splitting up when I don't need to control it. I'm going to split it up only to the extent that I need to control it. If it's going over, I need to know why. If it's going under, okay, how, why, what happened? I learned a lesson from it. Get it? Understand? 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 Okay, building a house. Building a house. Okay, cool. So, plan, scope, resources, materials, right? You got to do all these things. Then, now you're going to say, okay, once you've done this, somewhere down the line you have a foundation, right? You're going to dig your foundation, aren't you? So you got your blueprint. You're going to dig the earth, get material, labor, lay the foundation. Yeah? Got it? Then you got the next activity is structure. Get it? Get your materials, pillars, beams, walls, plumbing, electrical cables, etc. Make sense? Yeah? And so on and so forth. Interiors, you've got its own. Landscaping, you've got its own. Right? We've got some activity lists over here to the extent that we need to control. Right? Now, for example, is it draw blueprint? Now, I'm not going to say draw blueprint, control him, and her. I've got that resource. I've got a resource assigned to it. That's all I need control over. Even if there are 1 or 2 people working on it, I know how much time it takes. I know what money I'm paying for, it's done, right? I'm not going to break it down further. I don't need to. Make sense? Make sense? Can I move? So what next? Sequence. Now you've got your activities. What are you going to do first? What are you going to do second, third, fourth, last? Get it? Okay. Now, when you do your sequencing, you've got to figure out, you've got to understand what the dependencies are. Right? So for example, if you take a look at, of course you start, finalize house blueprint. Once you finalize the house blueprint, you can start 3 activities, for example, soon after the second is finished. Procure your materials, get an excavator, footprint, draw your footprint design. Yeah, you can do all those 3 together. But if you take a look, Big Earth, this guy depends on these 2. This guy cannot start till those 2 are finished. Make sense? So this is how you actually sequence your activities end to end. Make sense? Yeah? Understand? Okay. Can I move? Finish and start. So this basically says that the predecessor activity, the subsequent activity, the next activity cannot start till the previous one finishes. Right? And there are instances like that. Right? For example, until you do this, you can't start this, you can't start this, you can't start this. Make sense? And so on and so forth. This is finish to start. Finish to finish. Interesting, right? So, plan light fixtures, procure light fixtures, right? Just as an example. Until the predecessor activity hasn't finished, the predecessor activity needs to finish for the subsequent activity to finish, right? Or both can finish at the same time, based on some relationship, right? Now, I just have to breeze through this, but all the same, it's not as complicated as you think it may be, right? There are rules and regulations that are given to you, and as a project manager, you learn these things. And as you learn these things, it becomes a piece of cake, okay? Shall I move? Take a look at this. Can pour footings only after earth is dug. Only after earth is dug, workers are hired and required materials are bought, right? So pour footings, procure materials, dig earth, hire workers, right? This is not a perfect example, right? But there are some activities that can be finished soon after, or at the same time that the predecessor activity finishes, right? The start date is not that important. Finish thing is important, okay? And we'll talk about that something later. I was trying to think of an example. Anyways, we'll come to think about it, okay? Start to start. So the predecessor activity needs to start. Only then can the subsequent activity start. Make sense? Not before. And sometimes they can. We'll look at those examples. Make sense? Shall I move? If you've got questions, if you want me to stop and say something, stop. Okay? Please. Otherwise, zipping through. You seem a little concerned. Do you have a question? Yeah.
No, the slide is not clear to me.
Which one?
So this one.
This one specifically?
Yeah.
Okay. Start to finish. Okay. The predecessor activity should have started for the successor activity to finish. Example, the contractor telling John, you start paying me first and then the work will be completed. That's a good one. Very good one. Of course, I mean, it's real, but it's kind of like a joke. So, contractor telling John, so a contractor tells the contractee that you pay me off, right? So, sorry? Exactly. You know, and rightfully so, because once the work is done, who are you? Pay me first, right? Anyways, serious note, the plumbing work cannot finish until fixing the bath fittings has started, right? So the bath fittings must have started, right? Honestly, really, practically. You look at a bathroom completion, right? So the like the faucets and whatever, those must have started. Only then your pipes and plumbing get aligned properly. So you understand? So start to finish, the predecessor should have started, and the successor, only after it started, the successor finishes. So you understand the relationship? You understand now? Kind of, sort of?
Yeah, the successor should follow the predecessor, right?
Sorry?
The successor should follow the predecessor.
Yes, exactly. So in this case, the predecessor. Yeah, sure, please.
Just follow this diagram, because see, this is at the start and this arrow is going at the end. So this should start first, then it should finish. So in all the slides you will find the diagram, the arrow which side it is going. So by seeing the diagram you can understand, but the way he is explaining fine, but even though if you couldn't understand, you can follow the diagram. Visually, okay?
And your question might be of logic, even though the arrow tells you, you're saying, how the heck? Right?
No, I understood the example.
Right. And
The John.
sure, right? In the example as well. But a lot of people may think logically, how the heck is this possible? Yeah? So if it is, if you do have that question, of course with Sir's permission, if there are outstanding things, I'm more than willing to answer those questions after this,
Yeah,
at
we
camp
can,
or whatever, right?
see, to be frankly, this is not the end of this training. Anytime, irrespective of you are going for the exam, irrespective of what you want to do as a knowledge sake, anytime you can call, anytime you can work in, you can understand, read again, you can learn it again. For example, Mr. Wasim is not here on this day. We have agreed that because on this day he would be absent, and again this same session would be conducted at QAANS office institute. On the day you also can join again, understand, you can have again the same session again over there, no issues, because it's not so easier. Even the professionals who are working, they won't understand. So as a mandatory requirement, we have to do it within 35 hours. But as he said in the beginning of his session, that we cannot do it, because for that reason we are going behind schedule for each and every topic. We are going elaborately, right? Because you don't have that knowledge as such. Like for example, scheduling is a part of a planner. He's a planner who is highly paid, and who assists, like as I said, subsidiary plans. In the small project, of course, project manager himself would be doing all those things. But in the real time, big complex projects, each and everyone has their own task. Okay, so don't burden yourself. If something is there, you can go ahead. But still, we have room for clarification, for improvement, and everything. Okay. Sorry for
What I would suggest to everybody, you ask a question, you write them down, write points. But those questions that cannot be addressed, write them down and save them. You can take those pads home, right? Write them down, take them, and then you can address them later. Email, phone, whatever, come over to the office, we'll answer your question, inshallah. Okay, make sense? All right. Just because of time, okay? So, should I move to the next one? Sorry, I moved that pretty fast without asking, is that okay? Yeah. Get it? Hard logic. Also known as hard logic. Okay? So mandatory dependencies, for example, let's say regulatory laws. On black and white and by the book, it exists over here. Never practiced them, right? For example, when you construct a building, and I know it exists here, but not once have I seen it. When you come to the first, or when you've done your groundwork, an inspector is supposed to come and inspect it to see that you haven't gone over what is allowed in your area. Never has it happened over here. But guess what? In the US, he or she will come on time. 5 p.m. tomorrow, They will be there at 5 p.m. tomorrow with their notepad and their forms. They'll fill it out and they'll leave. No biryani money, nothing. They finish their work and they leave. Only then you start your next. If you don't, they come and break it down.
Sorry, with your permission,
Yeah.
don't make that much complex with them because they are not. So mandatory logic is something like that. You have a wall over here, right? Simple. We'll make it simple. Without plastering, you cannot paint. That is a mandatory logic. So don't.
Oh, sure.
Okay, because they are not aware of the mandatory things and have the wall. Okay, just give simple examples.
Oh.
So, we can go ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry for that. Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay. All right. So plaster, right? You gotta paint. If you don't you don't build a wall. What are you gonna paint? Right. So building the wall and then painting, right? Mandatory. Right. I used a licensing kind of a thing. Okay.
That is very complex.
Simple. Okay. All right. Discretionary. This-
Okay, in discretionary also, like morning we have taken the example of software, right? Maybe out of any of your team, in case we have taken the example of software programming, right? Somewhere out in your team have read the article that if we follow this procedure, it would be of helpful. So that is discretionary, whether you want to use that article in your project or not, that up to you and your team. That is discretion. Go ahead, please. I'm just interrupting, we have to make it fast, okay?
Very good.
Right?
One really small one I want to add to this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, you can.
Right? Discretionary also means, we need to get stakeholder A's approval before we get anybody else's. I'm not going to write it down, but stakeholder A is a finicky kind of person, very egoistic. If he or she doesn't put their signature first, the project's going to fail. So I'll say, let's go to them, get that first, and then go. I know the project's a pass, it's going to go through, but you understand.
Yeah, that stakeholder management is very important. Yes.
Exactly, absolutely. Okay? All right, shall I move forward?
It is very much understood, external and internal.
Makes sense? Yeah? Internal, product activities on the general side, product team, control, right? Shall I move? Oh my gosh, what a big fact of the diagram, okay? You start, when you start, whatever this is, you diverge, right? And you get simultaneous activities, right? All together. So B, C, D, E. And then it converges again. And when these are done, you got one activity and then finish, right? Something of that sort. Make sense? Start, enter. Can I move? Yeah? Lead and lag. Lead. Make sense? The diagram and the word. See, lead is the time that an activity can be advanced, right? Even though it is dependent on the predecessor, the successor can be advanced so many number of days. That means it can start so many number of days or work periods earlier than the predecessor finishes. Make sense? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Overlap days. Yeah. And lag is if there's a delay.
So not overlap, Zishan. Overlapping is different.
Yeah.
You can use overlap the process, but it can also lead time. Lead time always in the negative, and lag is in the positive. Okay? Sorry for interruption. Okay.
What you meant by overlap is simultaneous. That's what he meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, simultaneous. Right. Yeah, that's what he meant. So, okay. Your number of work periods, excluding holidays, so and so.
This is terminology. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, because
Yeah.
explanation of that.
Go ahead. Expected and skills preparing of these resources, factors considered. Make sense? Diminishing returns. Understand the second one properly. Okay? Make sense? Make sense? Did you understand the second one? More resources don't always mean more productivity all the time, right? The law of diminishing returns, right?
Like if you are digging a pit, maybe 2 persons can dig a pit in 5 hours. But if you add third one, they cannot move around. It will take more than 6 hours. Right? Got it? Okay. Go ahead, please.
Make sense? So factors to be considered. Makes sense? If it's automated,
Motivation of staff, very much important. Like as I said yesterday, the team management is very much important. If they are having conflict within the team, then the resources will not give full productivity.
absolutely.
So estimation will be changed. With a productive team, you can estimate a particular activity within 2 hours, maybe, but not with a team with a conflict, the same activity might go 3 hours. So that is what it says, motivation of the duration estimation.
Conflicts as well as, just lack of motivation.
Anything. I just an example.
I
I
just
have
don't want to do the work.
Yes.
I don't care. I just don't want to do the work. Well, what's going to happen? A 4-hour work is going to take 8 hours, right? I just don't want to work. Okay. All right, here we go.
This needs somewhat explanation for them. Please go ahead, but make it fast.
But use similar, parallel, previous information, first estimation. This, expert judgment. Parametric estimating. So the first one is based on, we'll talk about it in a second. It has a diagram, right? Based on what your previous experiences are, right? The second one has mathematical calculations, okay? Unit cost times the number of units, okay? Make sense?
Like in the case of parametric estimating, for example, last year we bought 4 square feet tile around 40 rupees per tile, right? The same 4 square feet, maybe because of inflation or maybe because of depreciation, maybe the rate might go higher or lower now. That is parametric, based on the parameters. Parameters is 4 into 4 tile. Another case is based on historical information. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Huh?
I just tried to put down certain good examples.
No issue. Time being, this is required. This is enough.
All right, anyway, it doesn't matter. So we don't want examples?
Yeah, we will share the examples later, okay?
Okay, anyways, fine, let's move. All right?
And top down is always very easy, but not accurate. Bottom up estimating is time consuming but accurate. Please go ahead.
Okay, 3 points. Pessimistic, optimistic, pessimistic, most likely. The best case scenario, the worst case scenario, and most likely scenario. Make sense? Bottom up. So you have low level tasks, the smaller tasks, you have a budget for them, you allocated whatever you want for them, and then you roll it up as you go all the way up to the project budget. Make sense? Okay? Bottom up. Estimate program revision when there is uncertainty in the individual activity duration estimates, right? So just estimate each activity at the low level and then budget it up. It can be changed as it goes. Make sense? Shall I move? We did this already? Talked about it? Yeah? Program evaluation review technique. Don't worry about this at this stage. Oh my gosh, what the heck is this? Get to it, right? Make sense? So should I?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Should I move? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we have the main area we need focus. We will give more time on that.
Cost
Instead of yes.
The cost,
Cost and
the smaller one.
this the forward price and the
Yes.
backward.
Actually, you see, these formulas, these are the simplest and easiest ones because they're technical. 2 plus 2 is 1. Do I need to explain it to you? 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 3 is 5. I don't need to explain it to you. It just has a certain formula. You understand that terminology, put in the right number, you have your answer. Formulas are the easiest. But the one thing I'll tell you, as far as I'm concerned, in my life, I have never memorized formulas. I don't want to waste my brain and my time memorizing them, unless it's for an exam. And the good part in the US is most of the exams are open book. So I have I know where the formula is, I know where I find it, I look at it, I explain it. The point is that I need to understand what the formula does and what it's used for. That's what my main thing is. So you understand this formula. Make sense? Okay. Simple average distribution. So optimistic plus most likely plus pessimistic. You have simple average. You have 3 items divided, the total divided by 3. You get it makes sense? Not brain surgery. Very simple, right? Weighted average. It's going to give you an extra weight on the most likely, right? So the number that you arrive at is going to favor the most likely option more than the others. Make sense? So you have 4 plus 2, 6. You divide it by 6. Make sense? Yeah? Okay.
Like we play now in our childhood. This I will go. You hold on. This I will not go. The same way, pessimistic, optimistic, most likely. Okay.
Make sense? Okay. Standard deviation. Optimistic minus, sorry, pessimistic minus optimistic. Divided by 6. Make sense? Now, you may not understand why is it divided by 6 over here. Right? Doesn't matter. We'll come to it. Okay? It takes a little bit of understanding. It doesn't matter. We'll get to it. As long as you understand the basics of it. You understand the name, you understand what you're doing. That's it. You understand the concept pessimistic minus optimistic, divide by 6. Simple, right? No complexity over there. Make sense? Okay. Variance, standard deviation, that's 3 to the power of 2. 3 times 3. That's item 3 times item 3. So whatever answer you get here, times by itself. Make sense? Square. Make sense? Yeah? Can I move? I've just done some examples. Right? If it's 100, 120, 150, blah, blah, blah. Make sense? Yeah? Can I move? Make sense? Get it. Can I move? Pretty self-explanatory, right? Develop the schedule. Can I move?
Yeah.
Here again, tools and techniques, they're various. Okay? We're going to talk about a few. Okay? What is this?
Developing schedule is an dash process.
Iterating.
Hmm?
Iterating process.
Exactly. Right?
Good. Go ahead.
He's paying attention. Okay. Method. Critical chain method.
These are the two methods, and CPM is the most used. CCM is not used.
No.
Used, but it is no more. Go ahead.
He's just writing it down.
No, yes, nothing to write. It is there, all there in PMBOK. The same thing
Okay.
is being copied over here.
Okay. Some say model and provide means of adjusting parameters. Okay. Understand? Self-explanatory. But just a means to work on it. Tighten, loosen, adjust. You know, move forward, move backward. Okay. Right. Sure. Make sense?
Yes.
Again?
These all points are written about project schedule. The heading is there. So, with respect to this, these are the points. Okay.
Make
Go
sense?
ahead.
Can I move? Okay, here we go.
Here focus. Here, please try to spend much time over here because this is very
Early
much.
start, early finish dates, late start, late finish dates, for all the activities without regard to any resource constraints, right? This activity will start and it must take this much time by the time we finish. It's going to start then, it's going to end then, right? No resource constraints considered here. Through the schedule network, forward, backward, past analysis, we'll do that. Calculate early start, early finish, late start, calculate by activity total float. Total float is when an activity can be delayed and it does not affect the end date of the entire project. Make sense? Make sense? Yeah? Total float. Negative, 0. Pass on, 0, negative float, and activity, and pass on. Okay. Make sense? Activities that you cannot do away with, that must be performed in order to get there, the longest time period, critical path. There may be other activities can be done with a shorter period, simultaneously ordered, right? But the critical path is that duration for the longest activity. Make sense? Yeah? Now, forward pass, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, I'll show it to you in a diagram, a simple diagram. There's one ugly diagram that you might think is ugly. You look at it first, you might think, oh my God. But there's a simpler diagram. Okay, should I move?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Because as per your pace, you can go ahead because
Right.
this is very important.
I'm going to move forward, okay? Make sense? Move. Sorry, critical chain. This method allows the project team to place buffers on any project schedule path to account for limited resources and project uncertainties, right? So there was a critical path, critical chain, right? So you place buffers.
Don't give that much explanation. I will put it in short. Critical chain is based on resource constraints. For example, you are constructing a resort in a gated community building. Different flats are there, similar kind of project, but only one plumber. Okay, that plumber has to take care of all those flats. This is a resource constraint. Whereas critical path method is based on the longest duration of the path that cannot be, that is the longest path is a critical path, irrespective of the activities and the resources. Okay? Later I will explain in much detail, but right now understand that it is critical chain is resource constraint. Resource constraint. Okay? But you put the buffer over there because that particular plumber is not available. You will put some duration buffer. Okay, please go ahead. Don't go into detail.
Okay,
that is
but everybody
because
understood.
critical chain is not required that much. Critical path you explain. Okay, got it? Please.
Everybody understood what I just said, right? Okay, let's move then. Critical chain. Okay.
Okay, now here comes. Now they need to more focus now. You, now you have to make them understand early finish, early date, and yes.
What I'll do here, if you don't mind, I'm going to pass this slide. There's a slightly simpler one, okay? I sent it to you. I don't know if you saw it or not.
No, I didn't see it.
I-
You go ahead. You go ahead.
It's slightly simpler.
Yes.
The concept is exactly the same, the model is exactly the same, the idea is exactly the same, okay? It's just, look at this one. You want to jump off the building, don't you? Yeah, look at that. Think of this. It's not that difficult. We'll look at a simpler form of it, so you understand the concept and logic behind it, okay? Take a look at this, right? So if I say, left a unique activity number in sequential order, let's say, right? The top right section, earliest start time. The bottom right section, the latest finish time, right? Make sense? You understand this one? Yes or no? Very simple. Are we on the same page? Yes? 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 Do you understand that?
First,
Okay.
explain them the activity on the node, then they will understand. No,
Yeah.
what they mean by node, because you skip the first diagram, first one. Go back, still. There is a diagram, right? Activity on node.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, it's there. You go back. One diagram we missed it. Go back maybe. Activity on node. Go back. Yeah, this one.
Oh, this one you say?
Just this is actually what is he got more simpler. He got the extra. He did some efforts and he added the slides to make you understand, because what those slides were of the high level. So he added something. That is what he was doing morning. Actually, activity on node means this is the activity name. So each and everyone has their own method of explanation. So this is the activity and the preceding activity, successor activity. So based on that is what exactly he is explaining now. So what does it say? At the left hand segment, that is the activity name. Then the start date means this activity is starting on the day 1. So it would be that part what he was showing, that was the one. Okay, now you go ahead.
Question? Somebody has a question?
Anybody has questions here? Please pay attention. Even if you don't understand, don't worry about it. This is the one. Okay, this is actually the activity A and the diagram that I have shown. This is what he is talking about. Okay, 5 is what and 2 is what, 6 is what he is explaining.
Okay.
Got it?
And the duration is the length of time it takes. Okay, we'll come to that in a second. Now here you have task ABC, the activities listed in each circle. Okay, and the order, dependency, sequence. Okay, and the duration.
Just a moment, explain. Actually, this is the data given to you to make a schedule. How do you come to this? Because you have decomposed the activities, right? All the activities are there. So, conduct customer research, starting activity. Okay. Design product concept, begin when A completes. This is what he means. Okay. Carry on.
Makes sense? Did you understand so far? Yeah. So you've got your activities, your circles, represented in each circle.
This is the way in the examination also they will give the data. You have to draw the network diagram. Then you have to go through the all calculations that he is going to show now. Then you have to come to the answer. Okay? Got it?
So I'm not using
Go,
that.
go to the low level, please.
Yes.
Okay? Don't give complex examples and don't
Okay,
go.
sure.
Okay?
That's
Please.
fine. You please help me out.
Okay?
But the thing is, we're going to look at this sequence in order. Okay. So here, each circle represents each activity. Okay. The duration. Oops, sorry. This is activity 1, activity 2, and this is the duration. Make sense? Okay. So here you go. Task, activity, task code, activity. Yeah. And the duration. If you look over here, you've got 2, D and E simultaneously. Make sense? Yeah? Are we on the same page? So you understand? 1, 2, 3, 4, and the duration on the bottom. Okay? All the way up to 7. Calculate the earliest start for each activity. For example, the task B is 2 months, right? So the earliest that B can start is A takes 2 months. Yeah? You understand? It cannot start before, see, 2 months for A. Only then can it start, right? Likewise with C. So if you take a look now, the total for B to start is 2 months, right? But for total for C to start is 2 plus 4, 6.
Oh, sorry for interruption. Let's quickly have a tea because so that they will also get refreshed to understand this. Okay?
We need some fuel.
Yes.
Inshallah.
So life cycle is 15 months.
Sorry, say it again.
Life cycle is 15
Life cycle, no. Don't get confused with the life cycle. This is not talking about life cycle. Life cycle is something like you have the phases. Like you have the process groups, sorry, not group, initiation. Like in some cases, in some projects, the life cycle is of not for, like for example, in the case of research projects, research is the first stage.
Which of the
Okay.
most
months. How can we define this 15 months?
Sorry? 15 months is not the life cycle. This is not the life cycle, it's the duration of that particular activity.
Duration.
Yes, yes, yes. Hello.
Duration of the schedule.
Welcome, Assalam.